Hi, my name is Iman Visram. Today we're going to be talking about hip hop and its relation in a global standpoint and compare it to the US. We have each picked three countries. We've each total have three countries. I picked Sweden.
I'm Amanda and I picked South Korea.
And I'm Brooklyn Pint and I picked Kenya.
So I think for my topic, since it's about hip hop, I think that people should listen to Dynamic Duo, their song AIO. New Jeans Supernatural.
I don't know. Okay.
Brown Eyed Girls Abracadabra. And then lastly, I think it's pronounced Shiny or Shun-E. Hello.
Shiny!
So let's talk about how hip hop first started in Korea. So it started off by U.S. military bases being stationed in Seoul. And the military started off by going to clubs there after, I'm guessing, whatever they do in the military. They started off by introducing hip-hop sounds to clubs and the youths that are there. So a man named Tiger JK saw this and took it as an opportunity to kind of introduce that sound with his new group, Drunken Tiger. Tiger JK is known as the godfather of Korean hip-hop. He debuted as a duo with another man named DJ Shine in 1998. He introduced hip-hop to more mainstream audiences, and because at first Korea wasn't used to this, it was seen as controversial. The lyrics were kind of abrasive. They had like curses in it, which K-pop at the time was not used to.
Is Korea like a conservative, like South Korea is like conservative country?
Yeah.
I feel like Sweden low-key is like, it's like really different. So they kind of just like looked at the US and they were like, damn, I want that. So in the 60s and the 70s in the Bronx, hip hop emerged and stuff like that, like we talked about in class. But Sweden and Europe as a whole tried to kind of replicate what they had. Sweden more specifically had a lot of like immigrants, a lot of migrants. So unlike the Bronx, like Sweden's like infrastructure had a lot of project housing built into it because they were open to collecting immigrants and migrants who were escaping like war and stuff. So a lot of the places outside of the city, like outside of Stockholm, have like project housing and stuff like that, where a lot of non-white Swedish people would gather. And so at this time, well, before this, like hip hop was being replicated over there because they saw the U.S. had such a big influence on hip hop, and at first it was kind of like cringe. Like I feel like they were kind of respectful about it. Like there were a lot of like Nina Cherry. She was a non-white Swede, and she had access to hip hop and stuff because I think she's half black. And so she kind of carried herself with it, but a lot of white Swedish people like tried to recreate it, and they just sounded and looked corny because they were trying to be too swag or too hip hop and stuff like that, and it was kind of like not like authentic. I don't know. It was very different than like Korea. It wasn't like, oh hey, this is hip hop. They were like, I want that. I want to recreate that.
Kenya was very similar in the fact that it took a lot of influence from the US as well. So in the 1980s, Kenya's economy collapsed like dramatically. On the GDP they originally had in 1980 was 7.265 billion US dollars, and by 1985 it went down to 6.135 billion US dollars. Which then Kenya became one of the first countries to sign a structural adjustment program loan with the World Bank, and which kind of set them up for the perfect situation of a rise of hip hop in Kenya in kind of the 90s. This group, so sorry if I pronounce this incorrectly because you'll understand when I say it, Kalamashaka. It was a rap trio. Did I say it wrong? That facial expression
Why are you
gave
looking
me
at
a
me?
heart attack. I don't know, just your face.
Kalamashaka.
I think
Kalamashaka.
that's wrong. What you got there?
Whatever.
No, you're good. You're good.
They were a rap trio, Johnny, Vigeti, Kama, and Roba, and they are quote unquote the godfathers of Kenyan hip hop. They were really big into like the political lyrics, kind of like a lot of what hip hop is like back then and now in the US. And a lot of it was just people found their way of expressing themselves through the hip hop and expressing their frustrations of what was going on in the economy. And I think hip hop is primarily used a lot as just a therapeutic release of their emotions, and that's a lot of what Kenyan hip hop is like. A majority of their influences was just about protests and about talking about the injustices in their government, like, you know. And then there's this one song called Look, Think, Stay Alive. It was released in 1991. It's by Jimmy Gathu. Gathu, again, apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly, but he released this with his Impulse group, and it was basically just a political statement, kind of just talking about how the government has control of their lives and has their lives in their hands, and not to go and hurt them even more. And it also is a call to action to all of the people just of Kenya to not allow them to push them around and stand up for their rights and stand up for what they believe in and stand up for just their independence as well.
I feel like that's like a lot what we talk about in class too, like
Yeah.
structure versus agency and stuff. In
Oh,
New
for
York.
sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about first how you said that Sweden kind of took the idea of hip hop because they wanted it. I feel like in kind of Korean culture, it's not so much as they want to say they appreciated like American hip hop, but you see a lot of they kind of just wanted to get more viewers and get more money. Like people wanted to make it big, so they took a sound they knew would become popular fast.
So they mainstreamed it,
Yes.
kind of.
Because back in the 80s and 90s, as we all know, South Korea is not very big on foreigners. So they obviously didn't see kind of like the black U.S. troops and think, yeah, I want to be like that. They probably thought, okay, this sounds fire. Like, let me try to do the same thing.
It's like that. Like, emulate like the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
For
this
sure.
like the aesthetic of hip hop, like especially now and K-pop is very, very like prominent. Like it seems like it's like they don't really use their own kind of style anymore. Like we see kind of this 90s hip hop and R&B fashion now in the K-pop world.
Okay. I feel like, I don't know, Sweden was like one of the first countries to adopt like the whole multiculturalism and embrace like immigrants and stuff, like I think out of all the European countries. So they kind of don't have that whole, as a country or as a government, I'd say, like that kind of disrespect to words like Black people and African American culture and hip hop culture as a whole. I think most of the people that were trying to like, I feel like unlike K-pop, they were trying to emulate it, weren't only emulating the aesthetic but also the culture, trying to like maintain being like respectful and stuff. Like I think it came to a point where suburbs outside of Stockholm were being so filled with immigrants that they had developed their own kind of like multi-ethnic like dialect, which was called I think suburban Swedish, where it was like a mix of like immigrant dialect and like a cross-cultural impact of different like languages, which is really interesting. And if you look at a lot of like the top like current I'd say like hip hop underground Swedish artist, one of the top ones is, his name is Yasin. He's a Black Swedish kid who's like, he's just like rapping and stuff like that. And I think that it's very much different than, I'd say it's more globally acceptable or like more globally mindful of other people and other cultures in Sweden, whereas I feel like Korea just like they don't care, or they don't understand that there's more than just like the clothing that you wear or the beats that are being, you know, recreated.
Yeah. For the beats, speaking of that, I want to talk about K-hip hop or K-pop's kind of sound now. So I watched a TikTok a couple of months ago, and it kind of said like sounds that Korean songs have sampled, and a big one is samples from Jay-Z and 50 Cent. And the songs have nothing to do with what 50 Cent and Jay-Z are kind of using in their songs. Like, as we all know, what does Jay-Z talk about? Money. And, you know, girls and being the top guy and chasing the girl, but not really wanting to chase her. And 50 Cent is just 50 Cent. I don't know how to explain his songs.
50 Cent is just 50 Cent.
And then in these like K-pop songs, you know, like they can't talk about, you know, as we said in class, getting bitches and getting money. So it's more like love ballads almost like that they're using, which became very popular in the early 2000s, where ballads and R&B became popular at the time.
I think from an outside point of view, I don't really listen to K-pop very often, but it seems like a lot of the topics that they choose is just kind of like trying to see what is going to make them popular, what's going to make it blow up, what's going to make them money.
I want to talk about that too.
Go ahead.
Because in the K-pop world, you have to audition to become a trainee. So you have to sing a song for them, and in a lot of these songs, they sing Black artist music. We see Tinashe, Beyonce, Rihanna. Artists like that are being used as inspiration. And in the songs, they obviously use the N-word because these are Black artists. So when the trainees are kind of doing covers of the song, they say the words too, not knowing that what they're saying is a slur for them. It's a slur for us. We could
argue that they may know. They may know.
Some do, because there are a lot of Korean American rappers and singers. So some do know. Others are just kind of like, they just rehearse the song and they don't really search up the lyrics. There's this one video of a K-pop artist singing a song by, I forget who, and it's half the lyrics are just the N-word, like the whole time. Does she know? I have no clue.
She's American, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was CL who did it.
Yeah, it was CL.
I think they just wanted to look cool for the audition. Like, let me look cool and swagger, like, so they can put me in this group, and then they end up singing like songs about the clouds outside and how lovely the flowers are when they're in love. So
yeah. What are a lot of like? Do you see a lot of like? I don't think Amanda talked about this, but kind of like beats that are specific to Kenyan rap.
I'm not 100% sure about like beats itself. I did find out that American hip hop has its subgenres, so like dub and reggae. Kenyan hip hop also has subgenres, like boomba, and this is what I was looking at before. Genje.
I know about that.
That's fine. You got that.
Do you know about that?
Bro does not know about that.
I do.
How do you pronounce it?
Bro, she does not know.
Well, why would she say she knows? Are you lying?
She wants the extra credit point.
Genja?
It's spelled Genge. Genj.
It's actually pronounced Gege, but okay. No.
Why would you not?
I'm lying to you.
I feel like that sounds right though.
Which is a lie.
Genge.
Everything I just said.
No, but Genge sounds more like a...
Genge?
Genge.
You're welcome. I actually just gave you an answer without even trying.
Was it correct?
No, guys, I am lying to you.
Oh my god, bro. Bro, trolling so hard, bro.
Hey, made y'all both believe it.
Whatever.
It sounds like it's Swahili. Don't even freaking play with me right now.
Genj, or whatever, it basically just means big crowd of people. It's a slow-paced hip-hop style. It's originating from the Caliph, which is just short for California neighborhood, of Nairobi. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes!
What y'all know about Nairobi, gang?
But it basically it's gained its popularity for its lyrics about street life and neighborhood and girls and thugs or whatever. Very like big rappers in this genre was this guy named Nonini, and I can't pronounce the names. Hua Kali. This producer called Claymo, he formed this record company called Caliph Records. This record company played a really big role in popularizing this subgenre of hip hop in Kenya. Along with that, there's a style called boomba. It also originated in the South Sea neighborhood, and this fused hip hop with the Jamaican dancehall, creating a really unique Kenyan sound. Some really popular artists with this are the late Sir Kleptomaniacs.
Hey,
I
pronounced
pronounced it.
Oh. That's an American word, kleptomaniac.
Okay, it's spelled with a K.
We got a racist on our team.
Oh no.
You thought this was a K?
Yeah, of course it's spelled with a K. Kleptomaniac.
Klepto, like a person who still doesn't need to. They
It's
already
like
have
a real
it.
thing, bro.
Oh.
My grandma was a klepto.
You're a klepto. I think. All right.
No, I'm not, Iman.
Another one is called Nameless and K-Rupt, and there's a lot more. But yeah, I really recommend you guys look up the sound of it. They're all here.
Insert here.
Here's a little taste.
Oh, I have a song.
That's not.
That was Easter. He is passed away. R.I.P.
Oh my god. May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Is there any other subgenres like in Sweden that became popularized over there?
So I think one that's pretty notable actually is. Do you guys know who Young Lean is by any chance?
Young
Young
Lean.
Lean. No.
Do we not know who that is?
Oh, we know that song.
Everybody knows this song. Anyways,
Brooke, tone it
let her get excited. Sweden popularized the concept of cloud rap, more specifically Young Lean, Blade, Eco 2K, and Sad Boys, which is a group of rappers who kind of manipulated this cloud rap genre. I would not say it's a subgenre, but it's kind of like a change of Swedish rap. They all rap in English, but they're all Swedish. And it's more like trap beats with like mellow kind of samples and stuff like that. Young Lean he lived in Vietnam and he lived in Belarus. I think he was born in Belarus, he lived in Vietnam, and he lived in Sweden. So he speaks all the languages. So as we can see here, he kind of sampled more of like, you can see like that multicultural theme once again, that like kind of involving a global aspect to his music. A lot of his like, hold on. So all his like,
Just come and go.
but you know I stick.
Hey.
Exactly. So
I'm being
his
left out.
Music, bro doesn't know. Very like soft like lyrics. I'd say like the way that he speaks is kind of, but what he talks about is very different. So he's on a lot of like Young Lean's music, and it's kind of a common theme, like drug addiction, like mental health issues and stuff like that, are common things to talk about. It's also kind of, it's both generic and authentic because he does talk about his addictions and his problems with like himself and his loneliness, but he also does do like, oh, I love bitches, I love girls, I love fucking, kind of stuff like that. So, which I think that unlike Korea, I feel like it's very different than Korea because Korea kind of maintains having conservative kind of topics, or like if it's about love, it's like
At most they peck. Even at
barely
the
a
shows.
kiss.
At most they hold hands and hug if they're feeling frisky.
I think like, I don't know, Sweden's very different. Like because they have so much like already like multicultural influence. There is kind of like, there's a group called the Latin Kings, or like it's like
Love that group.
At first you're like, what is this? But they're like a Swedish and South American like group, like a hip hop group, and those South Americans just happen to live in the same suburb as those Swedish kids, and now they make like Swedish and South American music. So there's a lot of crossover, and I think a lot of respectful crossover. There definitely is that, wanting to use the N-word.
She's speaking, Brooke.
Sorry,
That's
I
the
didn't
wrong song,
I didn't
but you
even mean to
got
click
that.
on that.
Let's look at a song. Let me play something.
We just had that out. Ooh, sound.
So you can tell like that's like if, come on, that's like 3-6 Mafia type.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
very clearly influenced off of like American 90s hip hop. And they were around at the same time as 3-6 Mafia. Like they're not like this like 2015 type group that they're trying to emulate. Like this is, not only is it authentic, but it's also homegrown. These people did undergo some struggle and some understanding of street life, but not to the level of the people at Bronx where they were suffering from fires in homes and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
Sweden already has that infrastructure to take care of the people. The only problem right now is that in Sweden, there's a lot of gun violence happening, and I think a lot of that has become because of a rise of like gun violence as a whole in Europe, which also simultaneous has grown the aesthetic of drill music, if that makes sense, which is kind of not related to hip hop, but then a lot of drill music, which comes from Chicago, is kind of like, there's a lot of gun violence in Chicago, right? It's a big city. There's a lot of stuff that happens there, and we're Americans, so there's kind of that aesthetic of guns that are being brought into Europe, and especially Sweden, which has caused a lot of young men to watch these music videos where random drill artists from the US are flexing guns and drugs and wanting to re-emulate that kind of stuff. And originally, I think I would say like about 5 to 10 years ago, that would be looked down upon to be corny, right? People believe that drill, or like this kind of drill or emulation of gang style rap is like corny. Like, they just look down upon it. They have no room in what they were talking about, because they felt like the whole guns and drugs kind of took away from the authenticness of hip hop. But because the aesthetic has grown, because a lot of young men find themselves wanting to emulate this coolness or whatever, so there's a lot of gun violence right now, and a lot of so hip hop is not all fun and dandy in Sweden. Yes, right. I have nothing to add there.
I think Kenya as well can relate in a sense where they do take a lot of their own struggles, and then they take what hip hop was in the 90s in America, and they were able to kind of just fit it into their own lifestyle and take their own experiences and not necessarily copy, but use this way as a form of getting their own dissatisfaction out into the world. And especially with just the corruption within Kenya in general, with a lot of like crime and police brutality, along with like within the Moi dictatorship. Oh my word, I can't speak today. This is like the one day that I need to speak and I can't. But there's a lot of suffering like during the Moi dictatorship, and a lot of young men who were in these ghettos were using that hip hop to voice all the things that they were being told to be silent about, and just how the economy in general was affecting them and their families. There was not a lot of women voices in Kenya during that time, just because of the poverty that was just emulating all of them. And so the women's rights movement in Kenya around the 90s kind of depleted a lot. So it was really big on the men getting their voices out, but there aren't a lot of female. So overall, we can kind of really see the influence America had on all of our countries combined. Like, each of us, they took a lot of inspiration with a lot of just political struggle, and how we took that and they were able to kind of use it just more as an influence. I'm not too sure how Korea just seems a big on just the street style in general, and using that to their advantage rather than using it as a way to talk about their own struggles, kind of like how Sweden and Kenya were. They were both big on talking about using it as a form of expression rather than using it to get fame.
Korea and Japan.
Korea
and Japan.
And ask that question with your chest, please. Please ask that question with your chest.
Bro, no, I will not.
Bro just asked us.
Keep this in the podcast. Bro asked us if Korea and Japan were two different countries.
I'm not a racist.
That doesn't make you racist. That just makes you uneducated. Oh, it's okay.
All right, bro. Just put it in, bro.
We're just messing.
Can y'all fuck off for a second? Okay. I feel like Korea and Japan are known for their rebrands. Like, they're very known for going through a political thing and then coming back, and they're like, Hello Kitty, like, buy our new plushie. And I think, like, in Korea, it's Hello Kitty is made from warfare. Like,
bro, passionate.
No, like, it's gonna get me mad. Like, everyone thinks Hello Kitty is known for being cutesy and, she has a bow in her hair. No, she's known for trying to, like, she's war propaganda. And I think we should mention that Korea also rebranded their music when they saw the U.S. military troops and heard Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder. They heard the sound. They knew it was popular. They took the sound and they rebranded their music to try to give that sound and make their stuff popular. But you cannot give a sound without any warning. So that's why at first people were like, well, what the fuck am I listening to? Like, why are you talking about fucking bitches when last album was about giving a girl a flower and putting it in her hair? So people are not always going to agree. But when they see how popular the sound is, that's how... Am I bothering you?
My neck hurts. Keep talking.
Because
Holy.
because that's how you gain international listeners. If
Right.
Korea does not agree with the sound, who else is going to come in and agree? American listeners are going to come in and say, yo, this shit's fire. Like, let me join and let me start listening and let me play. And that's how you get viewers. That is how Drunken Tiger now owns 2 record labels and a whole music company, because they started off from stealing another person's sound. Like, it... Anyone else want to add?
I think Sweden got it. Everybody knows Young Lean. I feel like they got music that
I know one song.
yeah, but it's still popular though. Like some random ass kid named Young Lean, bro. Who's that? You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
like crazy. But they have a lot of music that has kind of made a global impact and a rerun and a return to the U.S. Like cloud rap is not really something that you see in the U.S. kind of industry in terms of hip hop, because it's mostly dominated by Swedish people. It's like a Swedish thing, but it's a fresh and different sound which had emulated black and African American hip hop culture. So it's a
Yes.
circle of life.
Circle of life.
Can you cut that shit out? Okay, let's end on something funny.
Circle of life. We just have an outro.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning
Thank
in.
you so much
Like
for
and
listening.
subscribe.
All right.
Follow me on Instagram.
How did
Iman
David
B.
Dobrik used to end his... Didn't he rape a girl?
Oh my god.